Hi everyone, this is Digitalk with Bimulus. The purpose of this podcast is to raise built environment digitalization awareness amongst industry, showcase Singapore's efforts on built environment digitalization such as BIM, IDD and IPD, and look at digitalization worldview through the lens of Singapore. Every month of the last Friday, we'll be inviting guests to discuss the latest BIM trends happening in the world. We look forward to you following our podcast. Thank you.
So afternoon to you, Sagan. So we are on our second episode for our podcast, Digitalk with Bimulus. So today's topic that we're going to talk about is on IFC and OpenBIM. So, but before I begin and dive into some of the questions, and queries that our audience would like to know, maybe Saga, you can do a very brief introduction about yourself to the audience.
Sure. So thanks, Chris, and I'm privileged to be here on your platform to participate in this digital transformation journey for the Singapore built environment. And my background is an architectural engineer. I've been in this industry for about 14 years, 8 years working in the Singapore and Malaysia industry, 5 years in Germany, Netherlands, and have experience across multiple geographies in different kinds of projects as an architect, as well as a facade engineer, and as a BIM manager.
All right, great. So you're currently now with Autodesk, and your main role is basically on IFC and OpenBIM. Am I correct to assume that?
Well, I would say that is one of my key areas of focus here in Autodesk. I'm acting as a technical solutions executive and a technical evangelist for Autodesk Solutions, as well as we are looking at OpenBIM and collaboration methods which are more open standard. So IFC is one of my fortes, and or to really take the messaging to the market that IFC interoperability together with Autodesk Solutions and other solutions is crucial. That is my key role over here at Autodesk.
Yeah, so since our topic is on IFC, so could you just briefly explain what IFC and interoperability is all about?
Sure. So IFC, the full form of IFC as such from a theoretical manner is Industry Foundation Classes, and it is an open standard for the exchange of building data models that is used in the building design and construction across different software. And they're used to exchange information within a project team and between different software applications that are used in design, construction, procurement, and maintenance, as well as the operations phase, right? The current IFC model view definitions that we have primarily support 3D geometry and property data. They do not support the exchange of 2D information, such as plan views, annotations, right? For which people still use the native BIM authoring tools, such as Revit, for example.
So as I know, there are many types of schema in IFC. So there's also IFC 4 as well. And there's a lot more, if you visit the website, there's actually a lot more schema. Maybe you could briefly talk about the distinction between IFC 2x4 and IFC 4.
Sure. So the current versions, which is IFC 4, which is now it's completed in its maturity cycle, I would say. We're today at IFC 4.3, 4.4 as well, going into infrastructure. It has advanced possibilities and is more widely supported with some model view definitions which are more different. And it also supports single curve geometries, which is something which has been enhanced from the IFC 2.3 that we have. There was IFC 2.2, which in general, a majority of the softwares had, and you can see that many softwares have stopped supporting the IFC 2, but not the 2.3. The 2.3 still remains and is the most supported and stable format as of today. IFC 4 will complete its maturity cycle mostly this year and should end into a more mature state of utilization by the industry. So yes, we should all slowly and steadily move towards IFC 4. I think within this year we should be moving there.
Yeah. Okay. And how do you engage with IFC and interoperability approach? When you try to use it in any of the Autodesk, like for example, in your Revit software for project delivery, how would you do that?
So I would give you some customer examples that actually use IFC, and these customers are mainly in Europe, I would say, in the Nordics, and we also have customers in New Zealand, Australia, that have matured IFC processes with the Revit workflow. And what IFC majority was initially used, let's say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when it was just in its infancy stages, it was majorly used for, let's say, addressing the downward compatibility of a particular Revit version, right? If somebody had to open a Revit 14 model in Revit 13, Revit 12, just to be able to coordinate that model, not really edit that model, they would actually save that as an IFC and then open it in a lower version, right? Or somebody who just wanted to view the model or to be able to take the data, let's say properties out, then people could just export IFCs and share the model with those people. So what IFC enables is really to widen the scope of utilization beyond just the creation, right? So somebody who has created the data within the BIM authoring tools like Revit are restricted within that environment. But somebody else wants to access it, they should be learning Revit to be able to use it, right? But now, because of IFC, we see that people are able to exchange IFC models across different platforms. For example, Revit to Tekla, right? Or let's say Revit to open roads or open buildings, these kind of different softwares that people use, and it's bidirectionally exchangeable. It's just that you cannot edit it, but for collaboration, it's perfect, right? And that's why IFC is growing in popularity today and has a huge role to play going forward as we move from geometry to properties. Maybe tomorrow, we never know, right? Analytical models might also be able to exchange as an IFC data. We're looking forward to that day. Let's see how it goes.
And I believe that there's also model view definitions that actually allow this exchange of data in terms of coordination or for reference purposes as well.
Yes, true. So model view definitions, MVD as they are called, in addition to the file format itself and the various versions of IFC, the model view definition determines how you use an IFC file, right? How would you use the IFC file? Because the MVD enables a specific data exchange scenario for the teams. MVDs can be used for the targeted exchange of specialized models. For example, you can take into account graphics, you can take into account content-related information that planners need. There is another example. For instance, somebody wants to have thermal simulations required, thermal simulation information requirement inside IFC about lighting areas in a wall and a room. Those can be embedded, right? And conversely, specialized IFC models require only the basic geometry information. So for example, we have MVD coordination view, we have MVD structural analysis view, we have MVD coordination view, we have MVD FM handover view. So these MVDs enable you to create different data sets based upon disciplines, based upon custom usages, and specialized model for structural planning, for example. These are some areas where MVDs can be used, right? And These models are not necessarily heavily simplified in graphic terms. It merely serves as a reference that may be quite detailed but cannot be edited, right? It's just the level of detail that you include in the IFC are those model view definitions.
And when it comes to the IFC property sets, and are there some kind of data standards that can help to organize the data?
Yeah, so in general, IFC property sets are organized as per classes and types, right? So the IFC entity is a uniquely defined object, and it's in the IFC data model, and it depends upon the entity's assignment of type definition. And the object is allocated, like let's say, for example, certain attributes and dependencies within the IFC schema can be crucial to identify for some particular use cases. Say, for example, class allocations or type definitions, interactions, for example, which objects to identify, geometry, what are the measures in the geometry, or relationships between objects, let's say what objects are superior, what are inferior, so that you can enable these property sets as per the classes of IFC itself, right? So that is where the property sets come in quite handy, which we can define.
And how does IFC and some of the new features of the Autodesk interoperability tools can help? I know you can actually download the plugin, but how can this help for cross-disciplinary and cross phases integration for coordination, and exchanges of data with the new tool that's available?
Sure. So as you know that Revit has already obtained IFC4 certification, and we have launched BIM and interoperability tools. It has been a few years now, and BIM interoperability tools has the IFC 2x3, IFC4 schemas embedded inside it, right? So what you can use BIM interoperability tools is for you can use classification manager, so that you can classify as per particular parent class and subtype class. You can define them. So instead of you creating a shared parameters file, you can actually use the IFC classification manager inside BIM interoperability tools to classify the objects, families, system classes as per the IFC definitions in IFC4. So that enables you, let's say, for example, I can go to IFC structural framing is a name for Revit, right? So if you go IFC beam and you select a particular structural framing, you can then go to the next level. So the parent class is IFC beam, but the subclass is going to be, let's say it's a girder, for example, right? Girder is a subclass. So these kind of classifications you can change. You can also add object view definitions in using the BIM interoperability tools. Now, that being said, the BIM interoperability tools also has a model checker functionality, which means if you sort of populate a certain group of parameters inside using the classification manager, you can actually create an XML of the same, and you can use that to check whether the model was properly populated with correct parameters or not, right? So we give you a possibility to assign classification, and secondly, there is a possibility to check those classifications as against the assigned population of parameters. Now, secondly, going forward, we have also improved Revit's functionalities to be able to assign this classification directly from Revit itself. So for people who do not know about BIM interoperability tools, normal Revit users will now see the IFC classification being assigned into their properties palette, right? From the properties palette, they will be able to select that which parent class and subclass can they assign a particular element to. So we launched this functionality in Revit 2023, and it will be enhanced in the Revit 2024 versions going forward. Yeah.
And for now, I think the properties palette classifications I know Kobe classification is in there.
Yeah.
Are there any other classification that is in there? How about Omni class and other classes?
Yes, so the classification manager, first of all, has some pre-built classification property sets, which is unique class, omni class, and also COBie data. We also have certain ISO other standards in there, IFC 2 by 3, IFC 4, and you can actually create your own pick list, right? You can create your Excel definition, save it as your own classification system. Some of our customers over here do it. Some of the government entities who have their own classification system, for example, Ministry of Defense or Jurong Technology Corporation, might have these kind of own definitions, classifications. They can create their own Excel in the back end, and you can pick lists, and directly from Revit you can use those classifications to be assigned to the Revit elements. Those kind of functionalities are very good. Maybe for the viewers or for the listeners of this podcast, it might be good if you can share those links later on with them on how BIM interoperability tools. These are first of all free. BIM interoperability tools is a subscription benefit for all the Revit users. They can, and it's every 3 months we upgrade it. Every 3 months there is an upgrade based upon whatever happens with Building Smart and whatever upgrades we bring in together with Building Smart. So yes, I think this is something which is very crucial to know going forward as the world opens up to sharing of data. There is more digital trust because of open data standards, right? That is another area where open data standards help quite a lot. They enable you to have a certain level of digital trust, and at the same time, you can keep your IP protected, right? So you're not sharing model data from Revit directly. Most of the customers, right, they don't want to share the Revit models because Revit models are really digital data which is IP protected, right? You can log them, right? You can do so many things within the BIM environment, but when you share the data outside, IFC sort of strips off the design intelligence, right? Which is not required for collaboration, right? Let's say, for example, if I have a duct or a pipe which has an analytical design element inside, which defines my junctions and also defines my pressure loss, right, or the duct sizing, this intelligence is stripped off from IFC. IFC simply takes geometry and properties, and then your IP is no more carried forward. People might have saved some formulas inside Revit, those don't get carried forward. So which means IFC is actually enabling data sharing and increasing digital trust, whereas you're still protecting your IP inside of your BIM authoring tools.
I didn't know that there's such things that needs to be protected, where the IP of the model has to be protected that way and get stripped off.
Yes. Many most customers out there wouldn't want to share Revit models through the entire ecosystem. Especially, okay, of course, maybe during construction stage, once it is shared with the contractor, then the model opens up, the subcontractors will start using it. But again, before the tender is awarded, at least at that time, you can imagine that people won't share the Revit models, otherwise the design is out there. You can start using the model and go and build your new building straight away, right? Quantity takeoff. So IFC is that power tool in your kitty. Export, you are still sharing your information, but not giving out your design IP, right?
I think that's a fantastic thing that that can be actually be protected, so that it helps whatever security or any patent that you want to protect at the end of the day with your model.
Yeah, because let's say door designs, simple thing like door design, lighting design, anything that you model in BIM is a real thing, right? You're digitizing your building before you're constructing it. So people design their doors, and sometimes it's an IP for that firm, certain door type, certain material, it's your own design IP, right? And that's the value as professionals. If we share everything out there, the value of us as designers has gone down, right? That's again, I mean, that's my point of view. Somebody might have a different point of view, but as an architect, I would want to protect my designs. Yeah? Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think sometimes you might even put in proprietary systems that's inside there that the manufacturer will want to protect it against their competitors.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So that
And
makes
again, there's another layer. I mean, since we're speaking about it, there's another layer of government project security, right? The government projects in all countries, when the Revit project is done and it's a government project, they even encrypt it so that people can open it, only view it, but if they select the data, select the door or column, they cannot select it, right? Those kind of encryptions are also there. Now, instead of sharing the Revit model and doing all this encryption thing, people can share the IFC model straight away today.
Okay, that's quite enlightening. Okay, so where does one access further information on OpenBIM and IFC and the interoperability tools? What kind of materials is there out there to help adopt the tools and interoperability?
Sure. So I would actually share some of the things here. I'm not sure if okay, it's accessible. Okay, let me just share my screen. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Is it sharing? Yes, all right. So first thing, we spoke about the BIM interoperability tools. So you can actually go to interoperability.autodesk.com, and over here you'll find the COBie extension for Revit. You'll find the classification manager, the Autodesk standardization data tool. All these can be found here, right? This is a good place to find the data that you want to use. Say, for example, the model checker for Revit is here. You can access, you can look at what needs to be done, how you can do that, and you can download it over here. Access the Autodesk interoperability tools for Revit can straight away be downloaded from here. Yeah? Now, even on our YouTube channel, you can look at it, but over here, you can download sample XML sheets, you can download Power BI templates that you can use. Additional resources such as videos for BIM 360, downloading the Revit Model Health white paper, right? You can download these kind of things directly from this website called interoperability.autodesk.com. Yeah. Then here we have videos. You can see on the top, dashboards, automation and API, sample files, right? You can download some examples, let's say Penn State model checks. You can download different other model set checks from here, and helps and resources. All of these can be accessed through this website. Okay.
It's great. That's even sample files and PDFs to teach you how to check certain things on your model.
Correct.
As well.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So it's a very, I myself came to know about this about 2 to 3 years ago, and we started implementing these quite regularly, and there is no additional cost, right? This is something where people can immediately start acting on and making sure that the data is standardized. Because as we move towards the cloud, the common data environments, it's first important that BIM acts as the foundation of your digital transformation. And if the foundation data is correct, it's well hygiened, free of errors, then your upstream or downstream applications are more sanitized going forward.
Okay.
Okay, so the second website that I can direct to is the Autodesk.com Industry AEC BIM interoperability extension. In this extension, I can actually paste it in our Zoom chat. So I can share it with you later. But here we have, you can download the ebook, right? There's an ebook about open data. how open data bridges collaboration. Then there is also some videos that you can watch. Then here, Autodesk and IFC. So it's a very interesting book here, how IFC began the journey for Autodesk. So for example, if you see today, just sharing this slide with you, is that Autodesk was the founder of, it was actually the founder of the International Alliance of Interoperability in 1994. We co-founded it, right? Then 2002, Revit was acquired, right? And we began developing the predecessor to IFC. Of course, Building Smart became international and it established OpenBIM in 2005, right? Then Autodesk and Bentley signed the interoperability agreement in 2008. Then in 2010, we added STL exporters in Revit. Then again, 2011, we opened it up as a toolkit for developers and so on. In 2013, we integrated IFC standard into Autodesk 360 and BIM 360 cloud solutions. Today we call them as Autodesk Construction Clouds, and we added the COBie extension inside Revit, right? Now, in 2014, IFC 4 is released and it was integrated in Revit at that time, back in 2014. Of course, going forward in 2021, today, we are implementing IFC 4.3 for infrastructure. So we have always been there, mostly the first ones to integrate and very tightly working with Building Smart. And also now we joined the Open Design Alliance, by the way. So Autodesk has joined the Open Design Alliance in 2020. So Open Design Alliance is of course, Building Smart is called as the home of OpenBIM, and Open Design Alliance is what enables you to offer various SDKs and various development tools. So if you type in Google Open Design Alliance, right, and just open it up, you will see here that there is so much amount of, you can see we offer our SDKs through the Open Design Alliance. There's IFC SDK, Navisworks SDK. All of these are offered so that people can use these SDKs to develop plugins, to develop other softwares for their own needs, right? So this is something which is quite good. We have been very proactively working on all of this. And today we have more than 14 softwares that have IFC integrated in all of those. So the 14 softwares are these softwares which are known by many people, including the Autodesk AutoCAD toolset, Civil 3D, which is our civil application for road and rail infrastructure. Then we have Revit, Robot, Inventor, InfraWorks, Navisworks. All of these today support IFC, right? So that is something which where people can find information on. And there is a handbook which we release almost every year. It's called as the Revit IFC Manual. Okay. The Revit IFC Manual is quite a popular download amongst Revit users. It has detailed instructions of handling IFC files. So, for example, we can look here. It gives you an understanding of what IFC is, IFC versions and schemas, model view definitions, IFC structure, IFC classes and types, geometric representation of IFC items, level of detail information, open source IFCs, IFC viewers, how to link IFC files in Revit, opening IFC files in Revit, accessing the mapping table, importing options. Everything that you need to know is in this guide, right? So all Revit users, roughly around 2 million odd users of Revit worldwide, can access this data. Yeah, and it's freely available for everybody to use. All of this is very useful information, which I myself have been diving into since the last 6-7 years.
Okay. Oh, yeah. There's plenty of IFC literature that's out there. So thanks for sharing that with us. I think this will be very useful to anyone who's listening to this podcast later on, they can just um, go to the different titles of the ebooks and the PDF. Great resources. Thanks for sharing this. And just a very quick overview, since in terms of using software like Revit, how do you actually export a model onto IFC? Could you just briefly just explain a bit on how you?
Sure, of course. So, exporting IFC from Revit is quite straightforward, and it will become even more easier going forward. So, I could actually open up the Revit application, but let me just see if that can be done quickly. Okay. But crucial thing to know is that Revit has been supporting IFC all the way since our when it was born and utilized by people since 2004, 2006. So the exporter always existed. I'll just share my screen again. Okay. Okay, I can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
All right. So within Revit, right? So you have this. You can go to File and you just export. So File, Export, and then you have an option here of exporting to IFC, right? And when you export to IFC, the IFC export dialog box, it opens up. You can choose one of the setups here to export. The first setup to use is IFC 2.3 coordination view. Then we have 2x3 FM handover, coordination view 2x2. COBie is also a template here. Then IFC 4 reference view, IFC 4 reference view structural. These are the MVD definitions, the different MVDs. Then we have IFC 4 for building services, right, and the transfer view. And we have already launched, or let's say we have an experimental IFC 4.3 for infrastructure is in there already, right? So if I want to do a design transfer view, I can actually modify the setup. So people can actually even create their own JSON files. They can create their own import setups, right? So you can base your import setups based upon the current IFC 4 or IFC 2x3, and you can actually start creating. Let's say I want to create a new setup. I can just choose one of the base setups and choose the file type, which is either the IFC XML or zip file. And there are various settings over here in which you can even choose to export linked files as separate files, or from 2024 onwards, it will be exporting all of them together. Yeah. So that's the basics of exporting IFC. More detailed can be found inside the Revit manual. Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes we need to export objects that might not necessarily be found in the, in this case, I would just use IFC as an example in terms of this classification, and we need to do it as a user-defined objects. So can the BIM operability, interoperability to help us with the user-defined condition?
Yes, of course, of course. So first thing is you can always by that, like I mentioned, in Revit 2023, you can already choose from here, you can choose the IFC predefined type and export IFC as, right? So if you want to export IFC as, you can choose to export directly from here, and you can use a predefined type over here, right? So let's say in this case, I'm choosing a window, so I can choose one of these. So I can choose IFC window. And I can choose what kind of window it is, right here. And if I want to create a user-defined parameter, I can just say user-defined here, okay? And this is directly inside Revit itself, and you can actually later...
This Revit version is 2023, if I'm not wrong. Am I correct?
Yes, this is 2023. Yes.
And currently 2022 doesn't have this function, right?
No. So for those users, they can use BIM interoperability tools like here. I have this installed. Here you have the classification manager. You go to assign classification, and in the assign classification, the default, you can go to IFC here, right? And you can just load your IFC setup here. And in here now, if I see I'm choosing window, right? It automatically filters by window. And then over here, I can just choose for a drop down what kind of window it is. And here I can choose the same. So same functionality can be used all the way from 2020 up to 2023 using the BIM interoperability tools.
Okay.
Yeah.
For 2023, I can just the
Directly
function
do it.
for
Yes.
user defined is already built in. Whereas if it's the earlier versions, then I have to use the interoperability to do the user defined.
Correct. Yeah, and we are maintaining the BIM interoperability tools with the current version -3, which means every user in the last 4 versions is always able to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
That's good to know. Now, just now you talked about JSON files. You talk about you need to create shared parameters. These are some of the ways that you can actually populate it as an IFC parameter in the properties in order to do certain assignment to whatever objects that you create. But are there other methods besides doing this? Keying it manually, importing JSON files. Can you actually do it via using Dynamo? Computational softwares like Dynamo to help you do the mapping automatically. Is it possible to do it that way as well?
So yes, so the answer of course is yes, because Dynamo, as you know, is computational design and data tool, and that directly works inside Revit. So what your parameters are is just an Excel file, right? It's an Excel file or an XML data file, and as long as we can read it inside Dynamo, you can populate it and assign it to particular objects, right? And you can sort of define the readability through the Dynamo and Revit engine itself. So that's very much possible. And the biggest, there is an advantage in there where you can do a lot of customization yourself, right? So companies who are well advanced in their BIM maturity, which are like say level 3 or level 4, normally do use Dynamo quite a lot to really simply play around with data and parameters and properties. So that's where Dynamo comes in handy, is to really do more customization. Of course, you need somebody to be trained in Dynamo to be able to do that. But that's not, we are not far from a day seeing a lot of architects and engineers picking up this skill, right? Because Dynamo very straightforward does that today. And I have a video which I can quickly share on how that can be done. So let me just share my screen. Okay, again. We have time, right, Chris? So
Yeah,
just wanna.
Cool.
Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna play a video and quickly.
When you open up your Revit.
Just a second. I'm gonna mute. Okay, there you go. So here, for example, I have a Revit model, right? It's a very simple model. You can actually open Dynamo straight away from Revit, and Dynamo is simply choosing nodes and data, and you can assign it to an Excel sheet. You can just browse through, and if your parameters are already mapped in an Excel sheet, you can just choose the file path, browse to the Excel path, choose the Excel sheet, and you can pull the data. Yeah. So this Excel sheet could be simple, very simple, where you have the component name, Revit representation, any other representations. And once you have this parameters and property sets mapped up, you can straight away, let's say, also do modifications such as yes and no parameters, Boolean parameters.
Yeah.
So these kind of things as filtering of parameters can be done. And then you see the parameters, they directly pop up over here as a code block. And then from here, you can push the parameters directly. You can even split them based on discipline. Like you can have architectural parameters, structural parameters, MEP parameters. So these kind of things you can customize and do inside Dynamo straight away to populate IFC parameters. And once you're done, you can see in your properties bar that the parameters will be populated. For example, in this case for the wall, we populated construction method and fire rating as a custom parameter.
Okay.
Yep.
It's great to know that there's also other methods to do a mapping.
Yes, and for people who are keen to know more, they can actually go on dynamo.org and they can go on GitHub, and on GitHub they can find some sample scripts to run, right? Sample Excel data that they can pull inside as IFC parameters.
Okay, that's great. Now, you mentioned earlier on when we first started, IFC and OpenBIM is not a new thing, but it has been on. There's a lot of activities now going on with OpenBIM, and I'm pretty sure the industry is working towards the maturity of using OpenBIM to do coordination, using IFC to do data exchanges. So in the future, I think we are going to experience a new generation of BIM users that are going to be very well versed in this area. So what are the benefits will you see for this group of BIM users that will be using IFC on a daily? Eventually, it's going to be a daily basis. I will see that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And this is already happening, and today we probably do not have a lot of traction that people do know a lot, but it's growing and it significantly can explode going forward, right? It can immediately explode in the next 4 or 5 years as people move more towards digital processes and open collaboration, right? So this is something which will drive digital transformation and which will enable all the disciplines and people who have probably not traditionally adopted BIM, such as some of the structural companies or MEP companies, might not have adopted to BIM, right, due to whatever constraints known to them. And today, with OpenBIM or IFC translation data, it's very much giving them an option or a possibility to jump on the BIM wagon, right? It enables them to jump on the BIM wagon, and it will going forward only going to improve the processes, and it will increase the flow of digital data that is connected through different tools, different people and processes throughout all the phases of design and construction. And in general, what happens over here is collaboration will win, right? The only winner over here is going to be collaboration. If the more collaborative you are, the better it is for the project, right? And better it is for the whole ecosystem. And again, this again helps down for you to reduce a lot of unproductive tasks and again reducing your carbon footprint. So when you talk about decarbonization, open BIM, collaboration, paperless construction, all of this accumulates together to give you that savings in your data, in your handling of data. And hence, the lesser you do, the more you achieve through collaboration and through automation procedures on the cloud.
And it's great that just now you also shared there's so much of the IFC literature that Autodesk has created, great resources that people can actually come to, and including plugins like the interoperability tools to help with IFC and checking of the model. Is there
Yeah.
any other thing that Autodesk is doing or innovating to help make OpenBIM and ISC a bit more seamless and easier to use?
So, well, we are committed to open data standards, and that has been established since the pandemic itself, that we understand the importance of collaboration, and hence open data standards is a crucial part to enable that collaboration. And as BIM mandates will increase worldwide, that will mark the transformation for the AC industry as well. The prospect of eliminating data sharing bottlenecks, right? This is very crucial to understand, that to eliminate data sharing bottlenecks and create more seamless way of collaborating will become a reality one day, right? And Autodesk has a long history of developing more open ways of working through BIM, and also we are chief among them to embrace these situations of open data standards for better software interoperability and project team collaboration. Today, as we mature from the BIM 360 age to the Autodesk Construction Cloud, we are also moving data upgrade workflows, IFC interoperability workflows, and we are working on some futuristic things such as to be able to read IFC data from any source, right, in bulk, right? And then you have to export a lot of IFC data and handle GBs of models, BIM information. It is sort of limited on the desktop, right, or on the server. And hence, we have understood this challenge by talking to a lot of large customers worldwide who could handle 150 models a day or 300 GBs of data a day. It's very normal for them, right? Large projects. So they feel that using the cloud is something which is faster for them to go ahead with. Hence, tomorrow we are working towards, for example, exporting IFC from the cloud, right? Why not? This is one of the proposals or one of the ideas that I had given to our product teams. They're very receptive about it. Autodesk, the R&D teams are superb. They are very receptive. Of course, we have a large market. That's why we have to be very agnostic to different countries and not focusing on one country, but we are focusing on the globe, right? As such, so our idea is to enable 2 million or more than 2 million over users of BIM. So if you look at the data that cloud can handle and how IFC can be taken to the cloud in the future, in two areas. One is, of course, in the import, another one is the export, and data aggregation for large models in different disciplines. And of course, infrastructure, kilometers of data, right? How will you handle that data? Where will you handle it? Those kind of questions we are asking ourselves, learning from our customers, and we are moving into the Autodesk Construction Cloud Open BIM Arena, which will enable collaboration, coordination on the cloud. Even today, we accept IFC as a coordination on the Autodesk Construction Cloud and have version management, markup features, issue management, even change analysis. All of these are enabled on the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So, Open API, IFC are all something which you will see more and more growing inside the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So, keep your hearts and minds open and keep using these cloud platforms. You will see more and more improvements happening going forward, even in the IFC area.
Okay, great. That was quite a lengthy, detailed description on what is going to come. We are all very excited of the future of what.
Yeah, I mean, big data brings big challenges and hence greater opportunities for us to work together, right? IFC, as it grows, the data will be humongous. Everybody has to handle that data. So let's hope for the best collaboration forward.
Yep, we are truly excited of what Autodesk is going to innovate, and we're looking forward to it. So I think we have come to the end of this podcast, and this session. Thank you, Saga, for giving us a detailed description and explanation of what IFC is all about. Thank you once again for joining us on this session. And with that, we'll end today's podcast. Thank you. Thank you, Saga.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us on the session on Digitalk with Bimulus. We hope you have gained some insights from the episode and hope you could follow us in our next episode again. Thank you and goodbye.